Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Flow Over Fear podcast, where it is our mission to help you to rise above fear and realize your ultimate potential in leadership and life. I'm your host, Adam Hill, and it is my goal to share with you the human side of high performance. My guests share their experience with fear, anxiety, struggle, challenge, and most importantly, despite all of it, how they rose above it to achieve incredible results. So, if you're ready to rise up, let's get started. Hello, everyone, and welcome to this recap episode of Flow Over Fear. And today, I want to share some of the nuggets of wisdom that I learned from the amazing Joanna Lohman, who was my recent guest. And she is a former professional soccer player, played for the women's national soccer team, is a performance coach, a keynote speaker, an author, and overall just amazing person who is helping people to become more authentic in their own lives. And this was a broad-ranging conversation where we covered a lot of deep topics that may be affecting a lot of people nowadays in terms of how we're living authentically, how we're discovering our own identity, how we're constantly transforming. Joanna had expressed that we all have this superpower of infinite transformation. And I loved that. That phrase because it gives us this freedom to recognize that we all have the capability to live authentically, that we don't have to be subject to the norms that society is putting on us. And ultimately that if we do live authentically, and if we transcend those norms that society expects of us, that we can actually become, we can actually transform and become better versions of ourselves, more authentic versions of ourselves, and generally live better lives. Joanna is no stranger to adversity. She called herself a failure expert after going through a lot of the adversity that she's gone through to get to where she is today, and that includes a lot of challenges within her own soccer career, of originally being cut from the women's national team, or losing a number of championships, or getting paid $15,000 a year to play professional soccer. And yet she ended up getting her jersey retired from the Washington Spirit at the end of her career. So that was truly failing upward on that. And she talked about how she has continuously transformed, even especially at coming out at the age of 21 after being engaged to be married to a man. And she talked about that experience and how she came to that. She's adopted something of an avatar of a Dungeness crab, which is I think a really powerful metaphor, because what a crab does throughout its life, I think it molts. She said it molts up to 30 times in its life. So essentially it transforms itself 30 times. And we as human beings are often shedding our own skins as well and becoming something different. She came up with the acronym of Molt to kind of describe that process that we all go through, which includes that first part, which is M for mindfulness. This powerful phrase that she said, which was, we don't know that change is possible within ourselves until we know it exists. This showed up for her because she'd mentioned that throughout her young life, up until she turned 21, she felt like she had to fit into society's norms of, this is what a girl wears. This is what, that I need to wear pink. I need to wear dresses and things like that. And it wasn't until she was 21 and she came out and she had an experience with another woman that she realized that she had this epiphany that this other life exists within her, and that she is that she could live authentically. That part was the O part of the Molt, which is the outburst, which is basically the action that stimulates the change. And this is a powerful tool to help us to take that step from understanding ourselves first, which is that mindfulness piece, to taking the action to change ourselves, to make that transformation. And that's not always easy, obviously. That's oftentimes very, very difficult. And Joanna was expressing that part by saying how painful it is often to do that. But
But change and transformation requires discomfort. It requires that pain, and it's okay to feel it as long as we're leaning into something that is authentic, because authenticity is beautiful. If we can experience that authenticity, it is a beautiful thing. But it requires us to do that third part of molting, which she said, which is let go and let grow. We have to let go of our former selves. We have to let go of the part that is molting, which she showed is basically this symbol of a spiral, that a spiral is constantly expanding, and it's constantly shedding the skin that's on the outside. We have to let go of that former self that we were, and we have to let ourselves in order to let ourselves grow. This may require letting go of people, things, and others that might not be accepting of what we're transforming into. But and that's part of the pain. But one of the important parts she'd said about if we're experiencing that transformation, especially if you're young and experiencing this transformation, but really at any time in our lives, is to find the right role models. This gets back to something a lot of the people say on this podcast, which is leaning into a community of support, like-minded support. Find that role model that can give you what you need to go, and that's why you find the infinite options for your identity. Or you could you can use that you could lean into that messiness that she talked about, and that was a powerful thing. And a really liberating thing too, was that the messiness that we have is really something that we can lean into, and be okay with it. And then that final piece, after letting go and letting grow, is transformation. We have the transformation. We finally become the new us, the authentic us. And that was, of course, something that she's always gone through as she continued to transform and continue to live authentically, which included her journey into playing professional soccer. She spent those first few years practicing or playing this sport that she was truly passionate about, but realizing that it was bigger than just the pay or the pain that she was experiencing. I mean, certainly in those early years of playing soccer, where she was sleeping on floors, sleeping on futons of really small apartments, being packed with people, or driving an hour and a half to practice every day. That was a painful experience, but the purpose was bigger than the pain. And because of that, she was able to push so much farther outside of her comfort zone and become one of the world's best. Not only that, but to show the rest of the world that what can be done if we can rise above adversity. People came up to her, fans came up to her, showing their support for and showing their gratitude for what she has been showing them, which is amazing. And it really leans into that superpower of infinite transformation, that when we can live authentically, you never know who's watching. And for those that are watching, they can hopefully learn to be empowered by that authenticity as well. One of the things, we're going through now, of course, I have two kids. I have a 16-year-old daughter and a 12-year-old son. And Joanna now has a newborn as well, with her wife. And we question, and I certainly question, am I doing the right thing? Am I saying the right things? Am I supporting my kids in the right way to live as authentically as they can? Those are challenging years to develop an identity and develop who they want to become. And ultimately asking Joanna how we can be present for our kids in those cases who might be going through those challenges. Her advice was to say less and listen more. And to be careful not to place labels on our kid, to put them into a small box where they might be, because there are so many infinite options of where they can exist. And she said that trust is the highest form of love in that case, so that if we can give our kids the trust, which she has told her newborn that she trusts her, that equals love without control, that we don't have to control in that matter. And that was really helpful because as parents, it is difficult to know how we can be present for our kids when they're going through these challenges and know that we're showing up and loving them. I think Joanna is evident of this because she got the support from her family, even though that took some time. She got that support when she was coming out and going through that process of change. But it is something that we have to be present and cautious of. This was a great interview, and I really hope that there's a part 2 because there's so much we can dig into on this, including the science of high performance, where Joanne is speaking and how she's advocating in the world and what she's advocating for, because there is so much power in the message that she shares. I really hope everyone listens to this episode, and I really hope everybody takes something from it, because we can truly, become more authentic people when we learn to lean into that discomfort, when we find the flow in our own lives, and when we embrace adversity as an opportunity. We can see Joanna as evidence that when we can do that, we can learn to live an abundant life of authenticity. One final point that she made when I asked her what flow means to her, and she described flow as deep focus while being present. And I think that was a great way of putting it. She said every time she steps onto the soccer field, she gets that sense of, feeling in the zone and feeling like that. And she's always been a soccer player at heart, and she always continues to be. She even plays to this day. And when she steps onto the field, she's able to experience that deep focus and that presence. And if we can all search for that and find that place where that's our happy place, where we could find the deep focus, where we could find that presence, where we're staying absolutely present, so we could find the flow. So I would open everybody up to trying to find that flow in their own lives, and find that level of authenticity in your own life. Constantly be mindful. Go through that process of molting. Embrace it. Embrace that discomfort. Be mindful of your identity, of who you are, and and know that change is possible. Experience that outburst of action where you're taking action that stimulates change in your life. Let go and let yourself grow. And then, of course, experience the transformation. And look for Joanna, because she's got an amazing message. You could find her on LinkedIn, and you could find her at joannalohman.com, where you can reach out to her. You can find out where she's speaking and what she's doing next. And I really hope that we can get around to, because this was a great interview. There's a lot of other directions we could take it. So in the meantime, thanks for joining us, everybody, and we will see you soon.
Hey everyone, thanks for tuning in to the Flow Over Fear podcast. If you'd like to learn more about getting into flow and learn the foundations of flow, I have a free video series on my website at www.adamcliffordhill.com called The Foundations of Flow. Feel free to go there and download it and start your journey to rising above fear and achieving greater flow in your life. And if you like this episode, and I'm guessing you did if you stuck around for this long, then please do me a favor and hit the subscribe button, and you will receive notifications when I have new interviews, new recaps, and new trainings that pop up on YouTube. Thanks again for joining us.